we have a lot of mutual connections as well. Obviously, with both being in the Salesforce world, you probably used to work with Joe, didn't you, Joe Carr?
Yeah. Yeah, I worked with Joe for quite a while at Simplus.
Yeah, that's right. So I know Joe really well. He's a good friend, and obviously I still talk to him now. Obviously now he's in his new gig at Fullcast. So him and Dan in their dual partnership again. Um, so yeah, but the purpose behind it really, obviously the business that I run is a Salesforce recruitment business, and predominantly actually for the US really. We work in Europe and the UK as well, but um, Salesforce has always been one of the main markets I've worked in alongside ServiceNow. So they're really the two platforms that we've typically used. So I decided to kind of do these sort of conversations and kind of either reach out to people that I haven't had conversations with before or existing clients that I have, and then we've basically utilized that just to sort of talk to key people in the market, find out their views. Obviously, it's been a funny Salesforce market for
Quite a
quite some
while.
time now.
Multiple
Um,
years at this point.
Yeah, do you know what? I lose track as to how weird has it been for uh been like this, but it's probably 18 months, I'd say. I don't know what you think, but
That sounds right. I would say Salesforce as an industry hit its peak in careers in 2020 as the whole world was collapsing. Software companies were exploding. Everybody was moving to Zoom. Everybody was using Salesforce at work.com for contact tracing. People were getting Teams and Slack and all these other tools
yeah, yeah,
in droves. And so the tech industry saw a boom, not unlike the dot-com bubble of the 2000s. And with
yeah,
that came the rise of Salesforce consultancies who were implementing all of this software.
yeah,
And with that, you had companies that were buying software for the first time. They needed people to administer it, Salesforce being one of those tools. Business
yeah,
transformations were happening, particularly in the tech sector, because everything was growing so rapidly. And that 2020 was a big year. That was when I got hired by Salesforce. Salesforce
yeah,
added, I started when they were, I don't know, 50 to 55,000 employees. And in the year and a half that I was there, it grew to 80,000 people, which is
yeah,
wild. I mean, just the percentage of growth on its own is a lot for any company, increasing by, what would that be? Is that, 33% or so. And
yeah, yeah, yeah,
that's big growth for anybody. And then you had 2021, which was another big year for tech. Everything was still going great. The good times
yeah,
rolled. Nobody could make a mistake in tech. Companies were spending money like crazy on software because they had to get updated and all these
yeah,
projects that they put on the back burner for years. And then we hit 2022 and things started to bobble a little bit. Salesforce did a big layoff of, I think it was something like 1,000 or 8,000 employees, some crazy
yeah.
numbers,
That's
like
right. Yeah,
10% of the workforce. And it wasn't a low performer thing. These are some of the best people. Revenue Cloud people were cut from Salesforce at the time. I was already gone. I had moved on to another role at the time in early 2022, and
yeah,
or something like that. I'd have to look at my own resume to know for sure. My dad jokes that I'm a job hopper. But that's fine. But then things started to falter and people weren't buying software as much because they already bought it. And but the investors were still wanting things to grow, and then things were getting squirrely, and you start to get into some little recession-y kind of things. And there's a what goes up must come down, and markets fluctuate all the time. People forget about
yeah,
that,
yeah,
whether it's housing or software or whatever. Markets go up and down, and it started to go down. The cuts happened because Salesforce went, oops, you mean we can't double our employee size every single year like clockwork or whatever it was? It's almost like
yeah,
companies forgot how math worked for a few years, and you can't have a
yeah,
33% growth rate indefinitely because you'll run out of humans on Earth. 33% is like doubling growth every 2 to 2.5 years. So you go from, 50,000 to 100,000 to 200,000 to 400,000 to 800,000 employees. That's not going to happen. That's not realistic. It has to slow down at a certain point. But
Yeah.
no, 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 we're tech companies. We can do no wrong. And then the shit hit the fan, and in
Yeah.
2023, everyone went, ruh-roh, this is not good. So all the projects stopped, and all the software purchases stopped, and all the consultancies started slowing down. And then you see Slalom and uh, Coastal and all
Yeah.
the big consultancies, just layoffs across the board. And then companies are firing
Yeah.
their Salesforce teams and all this other stuff. And hiring is going to pause and all this other stuff because everybody's just, the sky is falling or the sky might fall. And so you stopped all of these people from keeping jobs, getting jobs, having jobs. People in the Salesforce industry for the first time were experiencing uh, what everyone else experiences on a regular basis, where what do you mean I can't just exist and get another job that pays me 20% to 50% to 100% more per year? This is
Yeah.
Salesforce. It can do no wrong. Well,
Yeah.
during the 2020 to 21 years, you had all these people affected by the pandemic trying to switch industries. A lot of them got into Salesforce and they're new, they have no experience, so half the industry is brand
Yeah.
new, and you have this oversaturation of young talent and the overworking of the experienced talent, and then you have nothing in the middle, so nobody can hire that sort of middle ground, undergrad talent, for example. So you either got high school graduates to choose from, or you got doctoral people. Those are your choices as
Yeah.
a company hiring. And you're going,
Yeah.
I just want somebody with a bachelor's, a little bit of experience or whatever. They can't find it. So, and then you have,
Do you think on that, John, Salesforce have done enough to help the industry? Because, like you say, it's all about growth, 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 and then, but there is this massive gap, where the
Mhm.
the sort of numbers of people in that space are just not there. Yeah.
We're seeing it in Revenue Cloud. We're going to see it in Revenue Cloud as a
Yeah.
as a big concept. I know there's the whole confusion around, well, there's CPQ and billing and Revenue Cloud, but then there's Revenue Cloud, and it's all Revenue Cloud. It's different flavors. Talk to your account executive or somebody like me if you need better clarification on that. But
Yeah.
the new product is getting built out really fast, and it's hit parity-ish mostly with the existing CPQ and billing products. That's the new product. That's where everything is going. And there are probably less than 50 people on Earth that can actually do much of anything with it so far. And less than 100 for sure. Even
Yeah.
though the partner Slack channel has over 500 people in it by now, and it's just endless conversations about it. But most of it's people going, "Hey, this thing's broken. This thing's broken. How does this work? There's no documentation on this," and it's people frantically answering each other's questions or asking
Yeah.
questions of others. Um, and so there's only a handful of people that are getting the lion's share. I mean, you'll see various names out there of people creating their own documentation because Salesforce isn't creating it. So it's
Yeah.
the same thing we experienced early in the CPQ space, where the documentation was limited. It was present, but it was limited. And
Yeah.
you just had to know somebody who knew something or figure it out on your own. And that's the spot that we're in. So Simplest early
Yeah.
on with Joe Carr and
Yeah.
all of that, it was, if you knew how to spell I joke that if I knew how to spell CPQ, so I got a job as a senior consultant, CPQ consultant. And that was about all it took at the time, because if you just knew what the product was and did, then that puts you in the top 10%.
Yeah.
But you couldn't hire fast enough. There wasn't enough talent. And there's still not enough
No.
CPQ talent.
No.
You got 6,000 to 7,000 Salesforce customers with CPQ, but you don't
Yeah.
have 6,000 to 7,000 people in the Salesforce ecosystem who can administer and implement and re-implement those systems, troubleshoot those systems, et cetera. And now we're adding a
Yeah.
brand new product that nobody knows, including the CPQ people, because it's brand new. So we're facing the
Yeah.
same challenge all over again. And I would argue, despite the marketing collateral, that this new product is more difficult to implement and administer than the old one. It's also far
Yeah.
more capable. So before Salesforce gets pissed off at me for saying any of this, I don't know if you're going to share this video or not. You're welcome to if you want. But before Salesforce gets all pissed off at what I say, it's also far more capable. And it's not only going to get to parity with the existing quoting and billing tools, but it's going to add all sorts of new functions that the new product wouldn't even come close to hitting. But
Yeah.
that also means that even though, as we saw Salesforce go from Sales Cloud to Service Cloud to Community Cloud, which is now Experience Cloud and other things, it got to a point where you couldn't just be a Salesforce expert anymore. Now you had to say, I'm a Service Cloud person. I'm a
Yeah.
Experience Cloud person. I'm a Commerce Cloud person. I'm a Marketing Cloud person. I'm a Pardot person. Revenue Cloud is going to
Yeah.
get to the point where it's such a big, complex product that you're going to say, I'm a dynamic revenue orchestration person. I am a, um, I don't know, pick whatever other thing. But one singular product is enough where you're not going to know everything about it. CPQ and billing were like
Well,
that.
there seems to be more and more revenue cloud companies kind of springing up, and
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, why is that? I don't know. What's your view on that? How do you why is that suddenly happening?
Well, that started happening years ago because you had, when I first got into CPQ, Oracle had Big Machines, which was rebranded to Oracle CPQ. There
Yeah.
was SteelBrick, which Salesforce acquired. The rumor mill said that they really wanted Apttus, but Apttus was too expensive or something. The deal didn't work out. I don't know if any of that's true. Safe Harbor, Salesforce. I don't know if any of that's true. Um, Legal disclaimer. But so Salesforce ended up buying SteelBrick for $300 million
Yeah.
dollars and then proceeded to do almost nothing with it for 5 years. They bought
Yeah.
it in 2015. And then, I guess it's been longer than that. They bought it in 2015. There were some more functions rolled out afterwards, and then nothing happened. And nothing happened, and nothing happened. And that's for people like myself who have been in this specific space as long as I have. We all share the same complaints. None of the bugs that are all known have been fixed. There's been no real enhancements to stuff, probably because they've been prepping for a new product, is my guess. We're not going to invest
Yeah.
resources in A because we're going to build B. Okay, fine. But
Yeah.
that's a challenge. Well, to address some of the gaps, other companies formed. You had the formation of Logic.io, which
Yeah.
very conveniently plugged some gaps in the configurator experience and very conveniently bolted right into Salesforce CPQ, almost like we sold this company to Salesforce with known gaps, and we're going to start a new company and build that to fix those known gaps. And then we're going to sell that for a boatload of money and just keep making, like, leave our own gaps in place and start a new company after acquisition so we could just pile on more money. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
true. That's a wild conspiracy theory on my part. So, I have no evidence of any of this. It's just conjecture,
Yeah.
or, whatever. Anyway, so then you have 3Kit and you have Prodly and all of these tools
Yeah.
that tangentially bolt onto CPQ or augment it in some way. Okay, fine. But then you have other companies spinning up like Deal Hub or New.io or the
Yeah.
resurgence of Apttus once it bought Conga and it rebranded Apttus to Conga. Now you have that whole thing and they're trying to go forward with this. SAP
Yeah.
bought Calidus Cloud, and so they have a CPQ tool now. I don't believe that
Yeah.
Microsoft has a quoting tool or anything equivalent yet, but I wouldn't be
Don't
surprised
think
to
so.
see
No.
them launch it in the near future because they already got Dynamics. So why not go forward in the process and create a quoting tool and all that other stuff?
Yeah.
Um, I think the reason this happened is because that's the market needs it, but nobody's supplying it. Salesforce is the biggest in terms of revenue, I think. I don't know. I don't have
Yeah.
numbers on these other companies, but in terms of number of customers, ballpark figures, the splash they make when they announce stuff, Salesforce is usually the biggest with this sort of thing. But
Yeah. Yeah.
all these other companies spin up, which causes even bigger problems on the talent side, as you're likely forecasting from your perspective, because, okay, I'm already struggling myself. I'm a CPQ guy. I came up on this thing. I know entirely too much about this product, the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever. Now there's a new product. But I'm faced with a decision. This new product is new. It's not fully baked yet. It's in the process. There's really cool stuff on the roadmap. I'm excited. But where should I invest my time? Well, I
Yeah.
personally am not going to go down the logic route because you got to know code to implement logic. So that's out. I don't want to learn how to do that, at least right now. Maybe that'll change. Well, then there's new.io and there's this and there's this. And so everybody from the employee looking for their next job or thinking about how do I want to grow my career in the quote to cash space to somebody like me who's a solo um God, I hate the word entrepreneur anymore. It's so cringeworthy. As a business owner of a company of one,
Yeah.
what should I focus my business on? Should I keep with the CPQ stuff
Yeah.
because there's plenty of customers? Should I drop that skill set and try to go all in and focus on Revenue Cloud, which is
Yeah.
still largely untested? Do I go to Logic, which is tested, but they're going off on their own and are looking to, and it looks like they're peeling more and more away from Salesforce to become platform agnostic? Do I go with Deal Hub? Do I join something else? I can't learn
Yeah.
all of these tools. So what do
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
selfishly for my own career? I don't know, man. And
So
so that's going to
what
further fragment the talent pool because people got to pick something. And so some of the success of the software companies could very well be based on how much and how quickly they can enable people like me to implement their software. If a company came along and it was easy to implement and a fast uptime and it leveraged a lot of my existing skill set, that's how I personally can make money right now and pay my bills. So there's a
Yeah, yeah,
pragmatism
yeah.
that's got to happen here too.
So how do companies make that decision, John? If it, what direction they go in? Because obviously then they're going to have hiring problems and you know how do you navigate your way through that?
Well, it, it's there's no easy answer to it.
Yeah,
Even if a company knows what they want to purchase, they don't know who they need to hire because there's so all of these tools are different to administer and implement and all this other stuff. And so finding the talent when you don't have the skill in a thing, you're the least qualified person to hire a person who's skilled in the thing because you don't know what to look for. It's like if I was
yeah,
I've
yeah,
been hunting for an attorney this year. I know who I'm going to pick now. And I'm basically picking somebody that worked for, they were the general counsel of a company I used to work for. I know they're good. They know the industry, all this other stuff. But what about an accountant? Is there somebody local who can do that? I don't even know what questions to ask. So it almost takes an accountant to know how to hire a good accountant.
yeah,
And it's this
yeah,
chicken and egg sort of thing. So the talent won't be there. A lot of these products as well. I mean, Salesforce is not exclusive in this. Companies sell the product and then they make it.
yeah,
They don't make a product and sell it. They sell a product, they market it and sell it, and then they make it if they can convince somebody to buy the architecture that they showed them and the slideware and all this other stuff. If they get
yeah,
enough, and that's a risk mitigation technique. I did the same thing with my jujitsu school. I put up a one-page website, fill in a form. I used some Google ads to push people to the website. The gym didn't exist. I used my home address. People drove by my house thinking that there was maybe a gym here or something. I later learned there were whispers on Facebook
was
Messenger
that not
of
a bit scary?
it was because what if somebody actually showed up at my house saying, "Hey, could we train?" I mean, I would have done it, find some waiver
Yeah,
online, whatever, but that was
yeah,
my that was my test to see is
mm,
this business idea viable? And it was, and now 2 years later, Freeport Martial Arts is 2 years old. Hooray, we made it.
yeah,
We're
great stuff.
now
Yeah,
into the third year. So the same thing is being done by software companies. I'm going to sell the idea and market the idea, and if I get enough interest, then I'll make the thing. And so then what you end up with is Revenue Cloud's half baked, and Deal Hub is half baked, and New is half baked, and Logic is half baked, and everything else is half baked. Some are more baked than others, but
yeah.
you
Sorry, I
have a
was just
lack
going
of
to say,
talent and a lack of complete products. It's a challenging situation for everybody.
yeah, and I was just going to say the thing is a lot of implementation partners historically don't have, or maybe implementation partners as a general group don't have a particularly good reputation for delivery. Um, and they kind of they're not experts in their particular space or the projects they're delivering on. They're kind of fudging it to get through. So surely the same thing's going to happen, isn't it, with Revenue Cloud and companies are going to try and take on those projects and then kind of muddle the way through, but do a bad job, and then
Yep.
need John Garvens to come in and help them, or to get them out of the hole. I don't know. That it's just like feels like it's going round in circles again.
It absolutely is. And it's how can consultancies be successful when you're given half of the materials to build a house and are told to build a house? You have
Yeah,
half of the tools and half of the materials to build a house. The homeowner, the future homeowner, is expecting a house that looks
yeah.
really beautiful because it's brand new, but it's not
He
going to be
wants a roof.
beautiful
Yeah,
because
yeah,
we don't
yeah,
have screws and we don't have hammers. So we're using screwdrivers to pound in nails, and
yeah,
we only got a handsaw because circular saws is not ready yet, you know. And also it's even though it's all revenue cloud, it's no different than a company. You have a lot of implementation partners. I saw one today from a former employer of mine that's like, hey, come talk to us at World Tour. We do Revenue Cloud and sales planning and Agent Force with three exclamation points, mind you, and Data Cloud and Marketing Cloud and Analytics. And it's like every fucking product was listed here.
yeah, yeah.
It's the same thing in Revenue Cloud because you're saying, oh, we do Logic and we do Revenue Cloud and we do Deal Hub and we do New. These are all different products. It's the same brand in the Salesforce world. It's all the same brand, for example,
Yeah,
but they're
yeah.
different products within that, and no one human on earth knows all of it.
No,
That's a
no.
frustration when you get, and you probably had clients that say, well, we need someone who's basically they're a CPQ architect, they're a billing architect, they're a platform architect, they're a technical architect, they're also a developer, they're a project manager, they're an engagement manager, and then we want this person for $50,000. And you
Yeah.
just go, even
Well,
if that person
that happens all
existed.
the time.
Yeah. I saw
Yeah,
a recruiter friend of mine reached out to me yesterday. He, I'll be kind, but he should have known better with the requirements. Hey, any interest in working on a project? It's a 6 to 8 week engagement. Involving CPQ and Revenue Cloud, the new one, as I call it. That's what I call it, the new one. And it's $90 an hour.
yeah,
So first red flag is 6 to 8 weeks. Nothing in this Revenue Cloud world is 6 to 8 weeks. Anybody who
yeah,
says they can get a project done in 6 to 8 weeks, get the hell out of here. You don't know what you're talking about, or you're lying
yeah,
to get the deal so you can send 5 change orders later, which happens all the
yeah,
time. It's
yeah. It
part of why
does.
we
Yeah,
get bad reputations. And then the second red flag is CPQ and Revenue Cloud have gone, So I asked, are they trying to migrate from Salesforce CPQ to the new one? Yes, they are. Oh, okay. So you think you're just gonna click a couple buttons, cut it over, whatever. That's the second red flag. Third red flag is $90 an hour. I know that the recruiting firms are going to make their cut, right? So it's probably $180 an hour to the client. You guys get 90, we get 90. If you want any revenue cloud architect, and they go, oh, no, they have a whole dev team that they just hired. They just need an architect to guide them. Oh, so you
yeah,
hired a bunch of developers who are clueless about this product. They're clueless about this business process. All they're going to do is write code to do everything that the product is probably already starting to do on its own if you know how to
yeah,
configure it. And if you think that some random architect like me is going to walk in and just coach somebody to success in 6 to 8 weeks to cut over from one of Salesforce's biggest, most complicated and difficult to understand and implement products, where the client has probably done a lot of dumb shit customization, and you think in 6 to 8 weeks you're going to cut that over to a new product that's half baked and is
yeah,
more complicated and difficult and all this other stuff, you're out of your mind. It's just red flag city. I can't.
yeah.
I'm not even
How,
gonna.
how do you how do you stop that? Sorry to interject there, John. How do you that whole margin piece and salary piece with everything coming down and rates getting lower and lower, and in defense of the recruitment world, it's
Hmm.
actually it's not driven by us
No,
actually. It's driven by what comes from the market, and therefore then the customers of the particularly the partner base.
right.
So how do you, because I have those conversations all the time. They want
Yeah.
A, B, C, D, E, F,
And you
G,
know
and
that that's
H.
not possible. And you tell
Of
the
course you do.
client, like, you're not going to get that person. And
Yeah,
I'm sure
yeah,
that this recruiter friend of mine told the client, this is an unreasonable ask. At least I hope he
yeah.
did. This is one of the core people that convinced me to actually get into the Salesforce, like go all in on Salesforce back in
Okay.
2014, 15. So
Yeah,
I give this person a
yeah,
lot of credit for the fact that I even have this career. So I love them. I'm going to caveat that with I love them, but I'm sure that he said like $90 an hour. I don't think you understand what you're getting into with this product.
no,
And
no.
people think they can hire a savior from on high for $90 an hour to come in, snap their fingers, and everything will be magical and fine. How do you
Yeah,
stop that from happening? It all starts with education. I mean, this is classic Dunning-Kruger effect, if you're familiar with that. You heard of that?
yeah. I've heard it. Yeah, yeah,
This is the client going, oh, we have CPQ. It's implemented. We use it. Therefore, we know what we're doing, and we know what it's going to take to get this done. It takes some honest conversations, which are not happening today.
mm,
Software vendors are not honest because they're trying to sell software. Consultancies are not honest because they're trying to sell projects. And so they go,
yeah,
software companies, oh yeah, this will be a 6 to 8 week project. There's even software that can do it for you. And then the consultancy says, oh, well, we need to get some projects because we got people sitting on the bed. Oh, we can do this in 6 to 8 weeks, no problem.
yeah,
Sign here. So then the client's all on board. They start allocating resources, they get some budget. And then the consultancy knows that in the first week of discovery, we're going to discover something we didn't know was going to happen. Oh, you customized something? Change order.
yeah.
Now you're up to 6 to 8 months, which is probably closer to where it should be. But even then, one of these migrations, I would say at a minimum, if you're cutting over from Salesforce CPQ to the new one, it's going to take you 6 months at least. And not because the tactical
Yeah,
stuff. You might be able to use some software to automatically create shit and move things over, but you're telling me you want an exact replica of what you have today? You don't want to change anything about it? You don't want
no,
to get rid of this customization. And a lot of the customization is like new functions that already exist in the new product. So there's a whole mapping exercise, a business process. There's a rethink that should happen. You implemented CPQ 5 to 10 years ago. Really? You still want to you still run your business exactly the same way that you did 5 to 10 years ago? After a
yeah.
pandemic, after all this change, after supply chain, it doesn't make any
It,
sense.
the thing is, as well on that, that you're right on the statement of works and stuff like that, because we constantly, the projects are going to be 6 to 9 months,
Oh,
and
minimum.
and yet we constantly see, well, we're going to run it for, we're going to give you an SOW for 3 months, and then you talk to the candidate who knows you like yourself, full well it's going to take a certain scope and a certain length.
Yeah,
So why is that happening? Because we all know that the contracts have a release notice period anyway. So why not be more, I don't know, why not be more accurate about actually what is involved, and why are people so
yeah.
scared to put SOWs down when people can leave on a notice period anyway? I don't know. Just seems a bit.
I think there are a couple of reasons. Uh, we'll start with uh, and it has nothing to do with software and everything to do with psychology. At a fundamental level, everybody's worried about their jobs. I got to pay my bills. There's a pragmatism
Yeah,
that everyone has. I know I have to eat. I have to have a place to sleep. I have to have clothes. I got to take care of basics of life, right?
yeah,
So if I'm the client, I'm not going to go to my boss and ask for a bigger budget than I think I absolutely need, because if I ask for $1 million and it doesn't work out, I'm fired. I
yeah,
am um my career has been killed kind of a thing. If you're the
yeah, yeah,
consultancy and you don't sell, if you work for a consultancy and you don't sell projects, you better be billing like a mother, because if you're not billing like a mother and you're not selling projects, you're fired. If you're sitting on the
Yeah.
bench, you're fired. So it behooves consultancies to get the project started. It's the in the book The Power Broker, one of the strategies of Robert Moses in New York City was it is like stake driving. Once you start the project, it's really hard to stop because people don't want to lose their jobs. In this case, politicians don't want to be unelected. And so
Mm.
we've already spent 10%. We spent $1 million. We had $1 million budget, but it's going to take, oh, we found out $9 million to finish it. Well, if I want to get reelected, I better make sure that this park gets built. It's the same thing here. If we
Yeah.
can get the
Yeah.
budget, both the client, I've had these conversations with my client. The client and I are negotiating not on like what my hourly rate should be, but what should the
Yeah.
initial amount be because they know what they're going to be able to get approved now and what they'll be able to get approved in the future.
Yeah.
And then because there's a whole management thing. One client wants me to overestimate my hourly budget, thinking like, okay, just give me the biggest number you can think of that would take to implement this thing so I can ask for
Yeah.
that. Meanwhile, another client says, give me the smallest number you can give me so we can start. Because once we start, I know I'll be able to get this thing going for years because contractors live here forever at my company. Same
Yeah.
situation, implementing revenue cloud products, but totally different ways of coming about the budget. The SOW way of doing things where we say, I'm going to deliver 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in this time frame. Number one, that's always made up. It's always it's a fantasy. No one has a clue how long any of this stuff is going to take.
No. No.
So when you start enumerating, I'm going to build 10 price rolls and 50 bundles and whatever, you don't know. Nobody knows.
No.
So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
why with my business, my model is all retainer right now.
Right.
I
Okay.
I have people who are on a recurring monthly subscription retainer where they're getting, in
Yeah.
one case, let's say 20 hours a month. They pay for it
Yeah.
every month, and we just do as much work as we can in the time that we have. And then I have other
Yeah.
clients where they'll pay for 40 hours at a time. We burn them down as we get to it. There's an expiration date on it in case the project stalls for too long because I don't want to hold on to 20 hours for 3 years, you know. Um,
Yeah.
I have one client who bought 20 hours and it took them 13 or 14 months to use all of it. It's like,
No. Okay.
guys, burn that last 30 minutes for God's sakes. Just schedule a call with me. I don't want this hanging out as administrative overhead.
Yeah. 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 Let's bring it to a close. Yeah. Yeah.
But no one wants to be honest about with themselves or with others about what it really takes to do this work. And so we
Yeah.
throw things out there like these deadlines. We're going to be live in 3 months. You don't know that. I've never seen that in a project that hasn't been either
Mm.
completely chaotic and stressful and barely got by and got live by the skin of its teeth in 3 months, or it was
Yeah.
a total shit show disaster and then we had to do change orders to extend timelines. All these projects take at least 3 months, at least. And that is for a simple business because there's a lot to figure out along the way. And no one
Yeah.
knows what they don't know. Um,
Yeah.
all I can tell you is that all I can tell the client is based on the hundreds of clients that I've worked with over the last however long, this is not going to be a 6 to 8 week project. And if you want
Yeah.
someone good, you're going to have to pay more than $90 an hour for them. You're going to have, if you
Yeah.
want
Yeah.
somebody
Yeah.
like me, you're going to be paying 250 to 275, maybe 300, maybe more per hour. But
Yeah.
the person you can get who will take $90, you probably don't want.
Yeah. 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 I suppose part of the problem is a lot of people because they're desperate for work, aren't they? And they need to get into work, like you
That's who you're
say, they've
going to
got to
get.
pay the bills, so they take lower and lower
And then you got to
because
ask, why are they desperate for work? I have
yeah,
more work than
yeah,
I need. I'm already booking deals for 2025.
yeah,
I've my resource planning. I've got out to September, pretty much already at least napkins sketch in my head. I'm good until
yeah,
September of 2025. And if somebody wants to
yeah,
work with me now, I say you got to take a number or find somebody else.
yeah,
And then I'll also increase my prices, I think, my list price this year because I can. But
Do
the person who
do
can
you
take
do
90
you,
bucks an
do you
hour,
find
because yeah,
sorry, John, do you find that people I don't know, because you've been doing it a long time, and it's because I'm the same. I think it's reputational, it's trust, it's
absolutely.
ability, it's experience. It's not trying to rip people off. It's trying
No,
to do a
no.
good, it's trying to do a good job for people,
If I
and
charge more, I can
so
take on less clients and give you better quality work. But I
yeah,
can't, if I'm
yeah,
trying to string together and pay for my cost of living with 10 bucks an hour, I can't, no, that's not going to work.
no,
Um, Thankfully I have a very affordable lifestyle, but the, I'm just charging market rates for what I do.
yeah,
And really I
yeah,
could probably charge more per hour based on the actual value my clients get. But I want my client to think, man, every hour with this guy is worth thousands,
yeah,
either in
yeah,
cost reduction or revenue increases.
yeah, yeah. And do you find that so from our perspective, I'd say our repeat business level is probably 70%,
That's
you
fantastic.
know? Yeah, because it and that goes back to those things I say, trust and value. And even when things go wrong, I find it's about as long as you respond to things in the right way and you try
Things
and
will go wrong.
correct things,
Yeah.
because things do go wrong, don't they? Whether you're a
It doesn't matter
RevOps
how good
expert,
you are, things go wrong.
yeah,
That's life.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think I was going to ask so going forwards, where do you see this marketplace evolving to? How do you where do you see it from here?
I see, I'll break it up into tiers of, I'll break it up into the like three big buckets. You got your newbies who are, let's say, people who are 0 to 2 years in the industry. Maybe they got a couple, one or two certifications or something.
Yeah,
And then you have your mid professionals. These will be people who are, say, 3 to 5 years. Because in the Salesforce world, if you got 5 years, you're probably in the back half of longevity. I would guess you would know better than I would. And then
yeah,
you got your 5 plus years, 5 plus certifications, or 10 plus in this case, or some people got like 40. I'm going, don't you have a hobby? Anyway, uh, go outside.
I did.
So,
I think I spoke to someone with 56 the other week.
how,
I don't know.
on one of my YouTube videos, I'll get back to the question, but one of my YouTube videos, somebody commented is, hey, when do you think there's going to be a RLM certification? Uh, Bro, it doesn't matter. One, it's going to be at least a couple of years because that's just how fast things move. But
Yeah,
why is that your goal? What are you, a
yeah,
certification warrior? You're going to walk around like, look at my 25 certifications. I'm a warrior. No one cares, man. You put you in a room with a pissed off client and a project that's red, and you're behind on timeline and you're over budget, and there's still no solution design because they're insistent that their business is special and they want to like take all of the structure and process out of the system by putting all these customizations in place.
yeah,
Let me put you in that situation and see how you perform. I don't give a shit how if you fill in the right bubbles on a virtual test.
yeah,
Anyway,
yeah,
that's a
yeah,
whole separate rant. But the newbies are in for a world of hurt, I think, because the mid and the long-term career people are struggling for jobs.
yeah,
And they're still prideful. They're still, myself included, potentially, are still too self-assured, too arrogant sometimes. I am not going to take an admin job. I'm an architect. Eventually, reality is going to punch you in the face, and you're going to say, I have to take an admin job. I know I'm an architect, but I have to take an admin job because I got kids and I got a spouse, and we need to put food on the table, and I need some benefits because my kids' allergies, medicine is, or whatever it is, right?
yeah, yeah,
The pragmatism required to function in the real world will eventually hit like a punch to the face, and they're going to take a job that they don't want and they feel they're too good for because that's how it is. And then you're going to have a situation where you got your 3 to 5 or 5 to 10 year experienced professional. They got the certifications. They've done, I don't know, 4 or 5 implementation projects versus somebody who 4 months ago was serving tables in a restaurant. They did some trails on Trailhead. Now they got 100 badges, but they have never done a project. They've never had a job in the Salesforce
Yeah.
ecosystem. That's your competition now. And I'm going to
Yeah.
smoke you every time. And it's not to be mean. Like that's just how it is. My business didn't work out and I had to go get a job, it's me versus an entry level admin, and I'm going to smoke them. It won't even be a
Yeah.
contest. And that's
Yeah.
not arrogance. That's just a decade of experience and having seen a whole bunch of stuff. That's just how it is. It's
Yeah.
brutal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And everybody's like, oh, Ohana and cartoon characters and yay, look, all this freaking golden hoodie nonsense.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fun. But at the end of the day, this is a competition for jobs. And if you're not the
Yeah.
best at the table, you're not getting it.
No, that's right. That's right. Yeah. No, fair enough. Fair
It'll
enough.
correct though, because the wages will go down. So more companies can afford to hire people, but people are going to wash out of the industry who never even got a chance to start because they're going to go, I'm not going to wait around for 4 years to get my first job in the Salesforce ecosystem. They'll find another thing to do.
Yeah. Do you think that'll genuinely happen? People will maybe come into the industry and then think this is not as golden as I thought it was.
It's already happening.
Do you think? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you see some hmm, disenfranchised is maybe not the right word. Disenchanted, perhaps. So you got programs out there. Some of them are better than others that, online courses to help people get Salesforce jobs, get started, right? And some of those
Yeah.
programs are good, and some of them are not as good, maybe too salesy for their own good. And people are signing up for these programs and they're paying their hard-earned money from their previous career trying to get in. And this program is supposed to help them get started, and it worked for a while. And the testimonials are real for a while until you hit a saturation point. And then
Yeah.
the shirt can't get any more wet, folks. It can't soak up any more water. And so now this is a weird metaphor, but you these folks are going, I spent this money on this course that was supposed to help me. I haven't even been able to get interviews. I've been trying to get a job for 6 months. No one will even call
That's
me
right.
back. And so they're going to go, screw it. I'm done. I've
Yeah.
even had, they're becoming
I suppose
disillusioned,
even
disenchanted,
I think
etc.
no, I understand. I think even there's probably less new recruitment companies trying to go into Salesforce.
Oh, it's
Uh,
bloodbath for you guys.
yeah.
I mean, that's why my
Yeah.
friend is reaching out to me. He's looking at for anybody who will even take a swing at this role. And I told
Yeah.
he knows that I mean it with love when I'm being direct. Uh, but I mean, you're not going to find anyone good for this rate and for
No.
this timeline. Anybody who's worth their salt in this space takes one look at this and goes, covered in red flags, I'm not touching it. The client doesn't know what they're doing. They have no investment in this critical business process. They think they're going to cheap their way into a successful outcome, and they'll learn, but I'm not going to be the
Yeah.
one to teach them.
No. I'd have loved to have seen your response to him, John. I'm sure that was a delight for him.
Well, I'll rattle it off real quick. Let me pull it up here. And that's the thing is I say some pretty direct things in my videos and stuff. That's why people seem to like hearing what I say. Where the hell did it go? Da, da, da. Where is he? Oh, it didn't sync with my computer yet. Hold on. I'll pull it up real quick. Da, 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 da. All right. So, um, hope all is well, my friend. I got a 6 to 8 week project that is CPQ and Revenue Cloud focused. It is $90 an hour, contract to contract, or corp to corp. I guess that's what C to C. Is that what C to C? Corp to corp? Okay.
Yes, yeah. Yeah.
Figured I'd see if you're available and interested. I said, hey, all is well, thanks. Let me guess. They want to migrate from CPQ to Revenue Cloud in 6 to 8 weeks. He said, yep. I said, it's not possible for any amount of money. That's my take. I plan to make a video on this to share with my clients. They have no idea how difficult and complex this will be. Laughy emoji. A client that thinks they can do this for less than $30,000 is a red flag. I bet their org is highly customized with bad practices too. I'm happy to talk some sense into them if you want. Like I would actually get on a call with them just to give them a dose of reality
Just to
and
educate.
and
Yeah, yeah,
but and still tell them, but I'm not going to be the one that does your project, but I'm going to level set here just to serve you and your future consultants and all. And he said,
yeah,
they are already on a test version of Revenue Cloud. They have a whole internal dev team, just need the architect to guide them. Just red flag. That's another four-letter word for me because it diminishes what it requires to do a thing. Oh, it's just a
yeah,
thousand push-ups. It's a thousand push-ups. It's just a marathon. It's a marathon. It's 26.2 miles. I'm not running that.
yeah.
Anyway,
No,
I said developers with no prior experience will do more harm than good, but they will learn that eventually. No architect can solve that or coach them to success in that time frame. I swear I'm not being a pessimist. Another emoji. I'll pass on this one, my friend. There are too many red flags for me. Another laugh emoji. It'll be hard to find find someone good for this deal. How's everything else going? Because I tried to, personal touch. Um,
yeah,
and later I said a job like this is bottom of the barrel for people like me. Um, I would take it only if I was desperate to pay bills. And then I asked how bad is it out there? And then I talked a little bit about how things were going for me.
yeah, yeah,
But I mean, that's
yeah,
that's the gist of what I said. It's just, and I've seen now two different consultancies. I won't name names, but it's very public, so you can find out who they are. But
yeah,
they're talking about either they've made solutions themselves to help with migrations, they've given webinars to Salesforce in these Ask Me Anything sessions on how to migrate, and they leave out so much in the conversation because they're trying to sell projects. They're trying to stake drive and get the project started. And I don't think they're
mm,
being disingenuous because their answer is true. Well, it depends on a number of things, and we'll talk about them when the project starts. But these migrations will cost 10 times what customers think they're going to cost. They're going to
yeah,
say, oh,
yeah,
I'll buy this $30,000 migration project and it'll be done. No, no, no. It's going to be 6 to 8 months. It's going to cost you $300,000 at least to do it
yeah,
because you have to
yeah,
rethink everything. You're re-engineering. This is a heart transplant.
yeah, yeah. Isn't that where to final question then really for me, isn't that where so then the client goes back and says, right, do you know what, we can't do this, it's too expensive, it's too difficult. And then you don't
Mhm.
get the flow of projects coming through. Is that
Yeah. And that's why if I'm a consultant and I don't, it's such a it's an ethical dilemma because I know from experience that this is not going to be a 6 to 8 week engagement,
yeah,
but somebody's going to do it for 6 to 8 weeks.
yeah, yeah, that's right.
So at what point does it become an ethical responsibility to say, well, they don't know yet. They'll know soon. I can help them. I can't help them in this budget, but I'll jump off that bridge later and say, look, I told you there's a lot I don't know, but you got to be candid about that at the beginning. And the reality is some customers may get spooked by the price tag and once they really start to understand what this is going to take. But at the same time, if you if you want to drive from New York to San Francisco and I tell you, oh yeah, you can be there in 12 hours, you know that's nonsense.
Yeah,
But if I tell you it's going to be 30 hours of drive, I don't know what it is, but 30 hours of drive time, you might
yeah,
not take the trip.
yeah,
But if you decide to take the trip, you'll take the trip with accurate information. You'll know it's 30 hours. You'll budget for 30 hours. You'll get enough gas. You'll pack more snacks. You'll pack more changes of clothes. You'll start planning for hotel stays along the way because you know you're going to have to do this because you know this is a long trip. But we only got to
yeah,
make it
yeah,
once. But if I tell you that it's 12 hours, great. Now you're in Illinois. You're, you're nowhere. in the first weeks of the pandemic, I drove from New York, upstate New York. I got stranded in New York. My planes were getting canceled. And I was with a friend, and then I stayed at her parents' house in upstate for a few weeks, thinking like, well, for 1 week, we'll just ride this out, see what happens. And then that turned into two, that turned into three, and eventually I said, okay, I got to drive back. So 10, 12 hours worth of driving got me back to Illinois. So now you're in
Yeah,
Illinois and you're not in San Francisco. So what? Are you going to turn back and go back to New York? Or are you going to keep going well, you got at least another 12 hours ahead of you if you're going to drive the rest of the way.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I, so that's where for me and my business, I cannot compromise the truth with trying to sell a project. If I tell you the truth and you choose not to work with me because the truth is too expensive, then that is a valid choice for you to make as a client.
yeah.
And it takes me, it absolves me of responsibility. I gave you accurate information. You made a decision based on accurate
You meant
information.
decision, yeah,
Now,
yeah,
if you want to if you want to if you want to proceed, great. If you don't, that's fine. But at least you know. That's where
sure.
you see companies that are highly seasoned in this stuff who um, their SOWs and estimates are 3, 4, 5 times bigger than another firm. And then companies go with the less expensive option. Do you suppose that there's something that makes this a 3 to 5x higher estimate? Is there
Yeah,
something that this person sees that you don't see? And it's
yeah,
not even,
yeah,
a lot of times you look at the hourly rates and they're basically the same, maybe
yeah,
25 to $50 difference, depending. But a better thing for the client to look at is the proposed duration of the project and how many people are going to be working on this, not the specific hourly rates. The specific hourly rates are it's a marginal difference. You know, the difference between 275 an hour for an architect and 250 or even 225.
yeah,
It's a difference, but tis better to look at the reality and look at that most expensive estimate and say, okay, what is present in this one that is not in the others, or what is absent in the others that is, in this one, you're comparing and figuring that out. And the person, if I was a betting man, I'm not, I don't like to lose money. But if I was, uh, I would bet that the company with the higher SOW and the longer timeline is probably the better choice because it shows that they know it's going to take a while. Everything takes longer than you think. Everything is more expensive than you think. Everything
yeah.
generates less revenue than you, all these things. We really we're not the best at estimating, especially time as humans. So anyway, I don't know if that actually answered the question, but
No, I think it did. I think it did. Well, that's good. That's good. Thanks ever so much, John. I haven't got any other questions. I don't think, unless there's anything else you want to raise, really.
uh no, I think that for anybody if you're going to share this for anybody watching or if you're writing up an article
Yeah,
or something, um, for anybody listening, reading, whatever it is, and you're in the revenue operations space. We'll just keep it high
yeah,
level. If you're in the
yeah,
revenue operations quote to cash space, I would say put your seatbelt on. It's going to be a wild ride for the next 3 to 5 years. Things will start to shake out within that timeline. Products will be more developed. There will be more talent. Um,
yeah,
but if you are an existing quote to cash, rev ops, technical person, you have some choices to make as to what you're going to focus on with software. Uh, if you're new, this is a good opportunity to get into the pool. And I would
yeah,
still encourage you to
yeah,
learn the old ones. I mean, if you haven't done any of this stuff, Salesforce CPQ is a good place to start because the principles that the principles of thought used are the same across all of these products. At the end of the day, all of these companies are trying to sell stuff and get money. as quickly and easily
Yeah.
as possible.
Yeah.
So if you learn how to think in that way and learn what matters and what doesn't, the technology doesn't really matter. A lot of companies still use Excel for their quoting process. They still use Excel to calculate RevRec and things like this.
Yeah.
So it's not too late to get into the pool. If you're already in the pool, get ready for choppy water, put your floaties on, save your money because
Yeah.
it's going to be a wild ride. Uh, but this too shall pass. Their software is an ever evolving space. Eventually, there will be a replacement even for the new revenue cloud.
It just does it ever surprise you, John, when another product comes out in this space? Because there are so many, aren't there, now that
Yeah,
and every 6 months something else comes out and it's like, right, have you heard of this? And does that ever surprise you, or do you just think that's the nature of the beast? And
it's the nature of the beast. It doesn't surprise me, and I often see it as a good indicator because it means that there's money in it, which means
yeah,
and that's not from a pure greed standpoint. It's like a career management thing. Are people spending money in this area? If so, great. I'm going to keep my career here. But it's
yeah,
like, how many pizza places exist in New York City?
yeah,
How many pizza
yeah,
places stay in business in New York City? People love pizza. They don't really
yeah.
care like what the specific name on the door is. I think we have the
No,
same situation here or similar situation here. More competition is good. How many Salesforce partners are there? How many Salesforce recruiting firms are there? How many Salesforce consulting firms are there? How many
yeah,
e-signature companies are there? I mean, if there are multiple of a company type in like a given area, that's a good sign. One of the primary concerns I had starting my jujitsu school was that there's one martial arts place in town. There are a couple of others. Clearly, they're not doing well. It's that most of them are some like super old person who still kind of has something going. But there's a guy who does karate in town. That's pretty much it. His class sizes are kind of, and I don't know
yeah,
how well the business is doing. And I thought this is a risk
yeah,
because there might not be a market for this here. The market might not
yeah,
support
yeah,
this type of business. So that was the calculated risk. Whereas if I started, say, a pizza place or a Mexican restaurant, there are 4 or 5 of those in this town. Okay, great. People are spending money in this thing. So starting a business in it is reasonable. You don't want to oversaturate the
yeah,
market, but
yeah,
I that's part of why I started the consulting business that I did. I know that there are revenue cloud consulting firms out there. Great. I'm adding another
yeah,
one to the pile. Nobody really gives a shit about Garvens consulting, but customers need help with this stuff. I can help with this stuff. Now I just need them to know about me. So I think
yeah, yeah,
it's a good sign. It doesn't surprise me. It'll keep happening. The market will thin the herd as a matter of course. I mean, that's the good and bad about tech is the mercilessness of the open market. Uh, MySpace was the big thing, and then, well, you don't really hear much about them because something came along
no,
with a better product. And
yeah,
Apple didn't make the first smartphone; they just made a good one and marketed the hell out of it. And you don't have to be first. Competition is good. The weather will be rough for a while, but
yeah,
you'll learn to ride the waves. And don't get too dogmatic about your weapon of choice because there's always a new weapon coming up.
yeah,
And
yeah,
being able and willing to learn new technologies for for standard business processes is good. It's the nature of it. I mean, people
yeah,
were
yeah,
when Windows 3.1 went away and was replaced by Windows 95. I don't like this new one. And then, okay, that's fine. And then later it's replaced by something else. And later people adjust. Remember how much everybody
yeah,
hated the Facebook news feed when it first came along? This is the
yeah,
dumbest
that's
thing in the
right.
whole
Yeah,
world. And now it's one of the most addictive things in the world. And it makes billions of dollars from pushing ads and all this other stuff. So
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. The dangerous thing is not the competition. The dangerous thing is refusing to believe that there is competition and that your space is always safe and will never be attacked or encroached upon by an outside entity. Um,
No, and I suppose you have to just back yourself to deliver, don't you, against your abilities and your values, and that's certainly with Platform Six. That's what I do. So I think you have to trust your abilities, don't you, to
yeah,
deliver. Whether there's a million RevOps guys in the world, or whether there's 10, you got to back yourself to deliver, haven't you? You know.
yeah, and it's betting on yourself. I mean, acknowledge that competition exists, but you can't spend all your time worrying about it. If you
No,
do,
that's right.
you're focusing on them and not your own career, your own business, whatever it happens to be. I treat my own career as a business, but
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, it's that photo of Michael Phelps finishing at the Olympics where his competitor's looking a lane over at where Phelps is and he lost. And then Phelps is just straightforward. He knows there's
yeah,
competition
that's
in the
right.
pool. It's not like he's pretending there's no competition. He just knows that
No,
he's better off focusing. He'll be more, okay, I know I'll look at them into my peripheral vision. I know they're there. I'm not going to lie to myself and pretend there's no
yeah,
competition, but I'm going to
yeah,
focus on what I can control, which is going as fast as humanly possible.
yeah. No, absolutely. Brilliant. All right, John, thanks ever so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Absolutely enlightening, and we'll catch up soon. Good luck with the obviously jiu-jitsu school. Sounds like it's
Hey,
going well.
yeah. It's a hell of a lot more fun and interesting to talk about than Salesforce.
Cool.
Cool.
All right, have a good one.
Okay, bye.